The family of a local teenager says she never would have left home without calling.
Just praying for the best. I want my daughter home, man. And if she can't come home, I just want to know where she's at.
These posters around the towns of Livermore and Jay beg anyone with information to come forward. Posters that Richard puts up every spring, never losing hope.
Tell me what happened to my daughter. Justin, just look me in the eyes so I can see her.
An arrest in a nearly 4-decade-old cold case. Thanks to cutting-edge DNA technology, the arrest happening exactly 39 years to the day.
When Parabon Nanolabs used that sample to create 3D models of the suspected killer's face.
It's heartbreaking. We miss her, and we're going to find her. We're going to keep looking till we do.
It's like a never-ending nightmare. It doesn't end. It keeps returning and coming back.
What if I told you that a mother and daughter went missing while walking home from the store in the middle of the day? What if I said the police refused to investigate until 48 hours later? What if I told you the family had to do their own investigations that the police failed to do themselves? Now what if I said it has been nearly 30 years since they went missing?
So tonight we're joined by Dawn Pitcher. She's the daughter of Dorothy Pitcher and sister to Danielle Pitcher, who disappeared May 23rd, 1993 from Cochise County, Arizona. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you.
So Dawn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're connected to this case?
Well, my name is Dawn Pitcher, and I live in Massachusetts now, and I'm related to Dorothy. Dorothy Pitcher is my mother, and Danielle Pitcher is my little sister. And I've been working on this case for the past 29 years now.
Now, how old was your mom and sister when they disappeared?
My mother was 47, and my sister Danielle was 14.
Wow. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your sister, I guess, first, and what kind of sister was she?
Danielle was a very happy child. She was loved to sing, loved to run around and sing. She enjoyed going to church. She was shy, but she was a happy child. Very beautiful, thick white blonde hair, big blue eyes.
Now, how about your mom? What kind of person was she?
My mom, she was like the kind-hearted type of mother. She would let us get away with stuff, where my dad was more the disciplinarian. And my mother was sweet. She was sweet. She'd be stern if she had to, but usually my dad took care of that.
Right.
Now, your mom and dad had a good marriage?
Yes, they did.
How long were they married?
Till the day my mom and sister were gone and the day my dad died. So 30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Everybody has their ups and downs, but
Oh, for sure.
Right.
struggled through it.
How many people were living in the house at that time?
At that time, my mother, my father, let me count, I believe 6 to 7, maybe 6 kids. Let me see. I gotta count them. I think 6.
Yeah. But
Yes.
the family was much larger than that, though, right? All
Yes.
the kids, and the more adult
Yes.
kids, right?
A lot of us older ones have already moved out.
How many kids were in the family?
17.
Wow.
A
That's a big
large
family.
A large. We had our own baseball team.
Yeah.
So- Actually, 2. You could play 2 games, right?
Right.
You're right,
Both
yeah.
sides.
We didn't have to play all 9 innings if we did it right. So
So if you can, take us back to that day on May 23rd, 1993.
May 23rd was a Sunday afternoon, and typically all the kids would go to church. My mother and father would stay home. It was like their only few hours of peace without any children in the house.
Right.
So when the kids came home from church, my mother, my dad, every Sunday we have a huge family dinner for Sunday dinner. And my dad always cooked. My mother wasn't very good at it. So my dad would cook. And my mother wanted to go to the store, and she asked the youngest, Chantal, if she wanted to go to the store and go for the walk with her, which was a few miles away, but that was how my mother got exercise. So Chantal didn't want to go, so she asked Danielle if she wanted to go, and Danielle said yes. So they left all the other kids home, and they walked to my other sister's house that lived down the road from them, Dana. And Dana was recently had a child, my nephew Anthony, and was married. And so they went and asked her if she wanted to go for the walk too. And Dana wasn't feeling good, so she said no, but I want to go to the house for dinner, so come back and get me after. And so they proceeded to go to the store and made it to the store, got what they needed, and started walking back, and then just side of the road just disappeared.
That's so crazy.
So has it been confirmed for sure that they made it to the store? Because I know they had walked down there the day before as well, right?
Yes, but they did. I have all the police reports, and they did make it to the store. They talked to the clerk. They did make it to the store, and they were on their way home.
Did the clerk say how long they were in the store? Sorry, Jeff.
No, you're good.
No, she just said that they purchased their items that they wanted. They went for cigarettes, and they had ice cream. That's what the clerk had said, and then they walked home.
I'd read that how far did they make it back?
They made it to an area called the S curve, which is like at the corner of 181 and 191, the highways that meet there. It's right around that area. And they made it there, which is, I want to say, around 2 miles away from my house, my parents' house.
Okay.
So how far was the store?
Like 5-6 miles.
Oh, wow.
So that's why go ahead.
That's quite a trip. No, I was saying that's quite a trip.
That's why my father didn't think anything, that it took them a little while to come home, and he wasn't thinking of anything. And until my sister Dana went to the house and said to my father, "What did Mom and Danielle forget about me?" Because they were supposed to stop back there. And he goes, "What are you talking about? They're not here." So they went looking. Dana went to the store. Dana went, on the back roads, because it's a dirt road. You could they were on the main highway walking. It's like, but it's in the middle of the desert. It's not really not like the Mass Pike or anything.
Right.
But they were walking the main road until they got to where they should have been and taking the dirt road, but they never got back to the dirt road. So Dana went to the store, checked, and didn't find them. My father didn't have a phone at the time, but they lived across the street, across the dirt road from the local elementary school in Sunizona. So he went over to try to use the phone to try to ask anybody if they've seen him. They went to people that they know homes. Maybe they, my father was thinking maybe they had stopped somewhere. And so they checked with everyone, and no one had seen them. And then my father notified the police. And the police said because my sister and mother were together, and my mother's a custodial parent, her mom, they couldn't do a missing persons case for 48 hours. And so I mean, that's a long time to wait.
Right. It's a really long time.
And so my father ended up calling everyone in the family to see if she had contacted any of us. They contacted my Nana, my mother's mom, to see if she's heard from him, and no one's heard from him. And then finally, my father contacted Nene, Delina, and told her that we didn't know where Mom and Danielle were. And they were gone for more than a day. And
Wow.
and so then Delina, sorry, ended up calling me and letting me know. I was living in East Boston at the time, and she had notified me about it. And I was just dumbfounded. It didn't even register with me when they had told me. It was like I walked into my living room, and I had just gotten home with my roommate. My roommate Michelle and I had gone out to dinner, and I'd just gotten home, and that's when I checked the answering machine, and my sister was on it, and she was all frantic and upset. So I called her back, and she told me what had happened. And I come walking out into the living room, and my roommate had looked at me and said, "What was that all about?" And then I just like sat on the couch with this dead look on my face, and it like didn't register. And I said, "My mother and sister are missing." And it like I just sat there. Like I couldn't comprehend it. I couldn't wrap my
Yeah.
head around it.
Right. I
You're
imagine something
in
like that takes
shock.
a long time to process.
Mhm.
I did want to mention too. You had mentioned your sister Nini and the relationship that Jeff has with her. Jeff, you want to tell us how you're
Well,
related to her?
yeah. So for the people listening, so I was actually Nini had married technically my great uncle, Derek. So I'd actually kind of heard about this story when I was younger, but being a kid, you don't want to press these kind of questions, ask about that. You don't want to bring up any hard feelings about anything. So I never really knew too much about it. So when Don had reached out to us, it was kind of interesting. We wanted to talk about this case for a while, but we were only covering stuff in Maine, in New England. But recently we've been moving out, and Nini was supposed to be on here tonight with us, but her internet connection hasn't been the best to connect. But we love you. Sorry you couldn't make it for this, Nini. Or Delina, which I didn't actually know that was your name. I'm sorry. It's always just been at Nini.
Nini.
But yeah, so she was living in Maine at the time, correct?
Yes.
When your mom had gone missing.
Yes.
Now, how old were the two of you guys at this time? You said you were living with somebody.
Delina,
Your roommate.
yes. Delina was, I want to say 23 or 24 at the time, and I was 20.
Wow. So then I can imagine with, I don't know how many kids were younger than you guys at the time, but you guys probably became the mom to these children, right?
Well, my dad stayed out in Arizona for a little while, and then he just couldn't. I mean, like I said earlier, my dad was the disciplinary and my mother was the caregiver. And
Right.
and he was down there trying to take care of the children, and he was lost. So he ended up moving to Maine to be closer to a lot of the other family up there. So he moved up there, and then when he got sick and passed, we all took one of the younger ones that were still living at home and raised them.
Right.
Wow. Can't even imagine going through all that. Are you able to talk about potential persons of interest, and was your father looked at one point by the police?
My father, I mean, back in the early 90s, it was very difficult because the Cochise County is very huge, and the sheriff's department take care of the whole county, and not just, like we'd have a police department. They have a sheriff's department that does the whole county back
Right.
in that time. And it was very difficult, and they kept focusing on my father. And he had taken 2 different lie detector tests and passed them both within the first year to 2 years. Well, I want to say the first year. And so they kept main focus on that, which was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, and there's other kids in the house too. So like, he was home with the kids. It's kind of absurd that they would have looked at that in the first place.
They questioned every single one of the children that were in the house, because there was my mother and father were also babysitting one of their friends' sons also. So he was at the house. So at the time, all the kids were questioned. But so he was looked at, and then finally, after like a year and a half, 2 years, they started focusing on other potential leads. Again, back then, the police department, the sheriff's county, um, wasn't as equipped to handle something like what was going on. They didn't have the right tools. They didn't have the right mindset, I guess I should say,
Right.
because to me, they didn't focus on everything right away. So we, like I said earlier, we lost 48 hours of a search,
Right. Crucial
and
48 hours of search time.
which is the most crucial
Right.
time. And not being able to notify, send out an alert, which we didn't have Amber Alert back then, but they wouldn't have done it anyway due to the fact that my sister was with my mother.
So is that
And
still a current law? If they're with a parental figure or a guardian figure, they won't.
I'm not sure
I'm
about
guessing
that.
so, because it wasn't like there was a custody issue or anything like that. Like she
No.
full custodial mom.
hmm So uh, they started looking in down other avenues and had some leads that would fall through. And we do have, at the moment, there are people of interest
Well, that's
right
good.
now. Yes,
Did they
they
use dogs to track your mom and sister at all?
they did. One He was a part of the sheriff's department at the time. He took care of the cadaver dogs, and he ended up taking the dogs from my parents' house and did the walk all the way to my sister Dana's. The dog picked up the scent the whole way to the store, and then along the S curve going home, it just disappeared, like as if someone pulled up and they went into a vehicle.
Right. No,
In
there
my head,
was.
oh good.
Oh, so I had heard that they were seen roughly around that area, weren't they? By some
Yes,
people that knew them.
yes. It, there was a group of people in a car, and they in the police report, when they were questioned, they said that they were driving home for lunch because they were working that day, and they were driving by and they saw my mother and sister walking. I believe at that time they saw them walking to the store,
Oh, okay.
and then when they got done, they had thought to themselves, according to what it says in the police report, they said, "Oh, if we see them walking when we're heading back to work, we'll pick them up." But they said that they didn't see them.
So they never saw them. So when you say S curves, and I haven't seen an actual diagram of what that area looks like or a map of that area, but it's what it sounds like, right? It's a curve on the road.
That
So do you
looks
think
like
there's a
that.
potential that maybe somebody hit them and panicked and didn't know what to do and possibly took them?
Well, I mean, if the road, like I said, it is a highway, but it's not traveled. It's not a busy highway. I mean, you probably get one car, like maybe every 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's just flat. It's just desert on either side.
And you would like to think that the police would have seen, blood evidence or damaged parts through a vehicle in that area if that was the case,
Exactly.
right?
Yes. I
But
mean,
then again, they also didn't go out for 48 hours. So, I mean, blood will stick to a road. But
and it's very dry area.
Right.
But I mean, I don't feel that they were hit
Right.
by a car. I truly feel that they were taken.
Yeah, it kind of sounds that way, like just like maybe not planned out crime of opportunity.
hmm
Someone just driving by who maybe planned out, I'm going to pick someone up, right? But not who. And Unfortunately, there was people on the road that time.
It was a Sunday afternoon. A lot of people weren't, it was a few hours after church was over too. So everybody was already back at their homes if they were even traveling that way.
Right. Now, you had mentioned they do have some suspects. Is it anyone that the police have called suspects, or is it more a thing where just local rumor?
The police have informed me that we do have people of interest and that we're looking into. We're we do have people of interest, like I said, but they can't inform us of who they are, of course. And but there's a few of them.
I had read on some public sites and things, they talk about two brothers that lived in the area that people believe may have been connected to it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Now,
Yes, I do.
What would their connection be, and what is the rumors that you've heard?
There are some rumors, but then there also is some parts of it that I can't speak of due to the fact that they could be part of an ongoing investigation with this case. So there are rumors that they do have some type of involvement that we believe.
All right, and they were like neighbors or something.
One of my sisters were. I don't know if I should say it. One of my sisters were married to one of the gentlemen.
Oh wow.
And I don't know if you want to put this in there or not.
I mean, I read that online. I mean, we can take it out if you don't want us to have it in here for sure.
My father had ended up putting him in jail, and he went to jail for a few years. Well, a year or two, and then when he got out, he was married to one of my sisters, so he went home and he said that again, it's word of mouth. So that he said he was going to get my father back for what he did to him.
And then it was like a week or two later that they disappeared.
Yes, when he got out of jail.
Why did what did he go to jail for? I mean, that's public records.
I want to say for robbery and for robbing homes and drugs, probably.
Yeah.
And there's a group of the men that live in town. And there's a group of them, and they are known drug dealers, and a couple of them also would take illegals over the border and bring them up to Phoenix, and for a nice sum of money.
Mm-hmm. So do you think there's a potential that they could have been trafficked, or?
That was one of, after 29 years, but even before that, you have to look down and think of every scenario of what could happen. And I mean, that was a thought that, Danielle, she's young, she's 14, she's got white blonde hair. We lived 20-30 minutes away from the Mexican border, So that was a thought, and my mother just happened to be there. And so did they take them both and then do away with my mother and take my sister? I mean,
and I can't even begin to imagine what your family's going through and all the different scenarios, because you just don't have any answers, right?
No, none. It took me a few years to finally, after doing all types of investigation, and I worked with the police down there and everything, and finally making it a murder investigation and pronouncing them deceased.
So they are
Did the
legally,
police?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
They are legally deceased at this point?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
did the police, other than the first like 48 hours after that, did they seem invested in the case? Did they take it seriously?
Honestly, the first group of detectives that were in charge of the case, they did not. They did not. I mean, we were a very, very, very poor family,
Right.
and so they weren't very helpful. And I mean, there were times where we'd call and ask questions, they'd hang up on us, or they'd never
Jeez.
call us back. And it but police force had a lot of they had to clear out everybody, and they got rid of a lot of old um, police officers down there due to the fact that at this time it was also the border patrol was corrupt at the time too, and they had to do like clean house.
Hmm.
They had this huge corruption going on down there, and they cleaned house. And
Yeah.
then probably late 90s, early 2000, we got a new group of detectives, and they were just wonderful. They were great.
That's
And
good.
Good to hear.
one of the detectives vowed that he was going to solve the case, and he ended up passing of cancer uh, before he had an opportunity to. And
Oh
now
man.
we do have a group of detectives over the last few years that have just moved the case so much forward and have gotten new leads, and especially now with all the new technology that we have that we didn't have back then.
Right.
And also because the sheriff's counties didn't speak to each other. You know, if something happened in one county, they never relay, relayed it to the next county. They just
Right.
kept their information to themselves, where now every county they share, they talk. And I mean, it's the same thing like here in Massachusetts. There, the Holly Perinian's case, she was abducted in 93, also in August of 93, out of Sturbridge, Mass. And that is Worcester County. Her remains were found in Brimfield, Mass. And that is in Hampden County. So the two counties didn't help each other. They had their own separate investigation going on for years because the police departments just didn't communicate back then.
I
And they
don't get that.
disappeared.
I really don't. The thing, the issue with that, like that corruption issue that you were talking about with the police force down there, did
Mhm.
that ever give you, like, once you found out about that, did that make you think that maybe they kind of were letting stuff like that happen? Did that give you
They get
pause?
I I don't know about letting abduction
Right.
happen, but I don't think that they pursued an investigation like they should have.
Right.
I think they were too busy being corrupt to actually focus. And like I said, they looked at us like they're a poor family, knowing them, and they literally even said this, knowing them, they probably just ran away.
Unreal.
There's a part in the police um, report that has one of the detectives back in the early 90s when this happened make a comment about my mother in the police report.
It's gross.
So much for just the facts, huh?
Hmm. Exactly. But I mean, if you see the police report back from the early 90s, they did a horrible, sloppy job, an extremely sloppy job. And when I realized that I could get a copy of the police report, which was a few years later, because I mean, again, I'm trying to deal with this situation myself. My father calls me and said, "You need to take care of this." Now I have older brothers and sisters and younger brothers and sisters, of course, but he's like, you have to take care of this. No one else, just you. And I said, fine, I'll do it. But here I am, barely 20, 3,000 miles away.
Right.
And so I did. And I mean, again, we didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We had, we barely had cordless phones at that time. And so I had to do everything with a pen and piece of paper, mailing letters, And then when I finally figured out, by doing research about each, because in Massachusetts, the laws are different from Arizona. So in the state of Massachusetts, if it's an ongoing investigation, you are not allowed to see that police report. It is off. You cannot get it. In
Yeah,
Arizona,
for a criminal case, right? But if it's a missing person, that's not a criminal case potentially. I mean, it is now, obviously, if they've been declared deceased.
but it's still, they won't let you see it in Massachusetts.
Wow.
And I found out after doing my research that I can get a copy of the police report in Arizona. So I got every single last page of that police report. And I've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. And in the police report, they have every single person that they talked to. And they claim in the police report back again, within a week of my mother and sister being gone, that they had spoken to they went door to door and everybody in Sunizona, which is 200 people. So let's say 100 houses. They claim they went door to door, and I contacted, because they had the name and the addresses and phone numbers of every single person they spoke with. And I called them, every single one of them. And I did my own investigation. And I even recorded every single one of them. My girlfriend transcribed it up on paper so we could have that.
Oh, very nice.
And I found out through the grapevine by talking to other people that there are a lot of people that they never even spoke to, but they claim that they did. And then also when I ended up getting phone numbers of everybody else that they haven't spoken to yet, from neighbors and friends and everything, I have more information in my investigation than they have in their police report for the first few months of it, except focusing on my father.
Right. Have you tried to give that to the police? Would they even accept that?
Oh, I went down with the new detectives. I went down. I've gone down. I try to go down like every couple of years, and just stir up the pot. I notify the newspapers. I notify the police. I notify the news people that I'm going out there. Just to stir a little bit.
Right.
And well, they had notified me going back maybe 4 years ago, but I've been back there since this episode. I'm telling you, I went down there 4 years ago, brought down all my files, a whole 2 suitcases filled with 3-ring binders, everything that I have. And I went, and they said, they picked me up from the airport, and they took me to the Sierra Vista Police Department. And we were sitting there talking, and I pull out all my information, and I recorded every conversation I had with every single person, and they go, that's against the law. I said, so what are you going to do about it? And they said, nothing. Can we have a copy of them? I said, sure can. Because
good. I'm glad that they were receptive to it.
Oh yes, and then they gave me I have all the information that I was missing of the newest part of the investigation.
Oh, good.
And so they gave me all of that just so I have that.
Right.
And they've been very, very helpful. And like the new detectives that we have in charge of the case right now, they have been extremely helpful, and they want to see this solved.
So you're feeling optimistic about this then?
I am.
Good. That's really important.
So has the family donated their DNA to NamUs? It's on file with them?
Yes. I am in. My sister and mother are in the NCIC computer. And when remains are found of someone and they can't identify, they put their description into the NCIC computer and it will pop out who they possibly could be. So when they found remains of a girl that they found in Alabama, my sister came up as a match.
Oh,
and
boy.
and this was back in 2002.
As a physical match, not a DNA match, right?
Right. And so that's when I had to go go to the FBI here in the Springfield area, and they took my DNA and now they have it on file.
Very good. Just don't commit any crimes.
Okay.
So how is the family doing?
They're doing good. I mean, for the most part.
Right.
You, with such a large family and everybody deals with tragedy in their own way, or the only way that they figure that they know how. I mean, to be honest, there was a few that went to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And not a few, I shouldn't say, maybe two. You have some of us like myself who not quitting, and I'm staying 110% focused on it. It's been a long time and it takes its toll on me. But when I've had enough and it's making me stir crazy and not sleep, I put it away. I've finally learned to put it away and put it on the back burner and let me get my life back in order, and then going back to it when I feel like I'm ready to go back to it. And then I have other family members that they don't want to hear about it. They say to me, they'll say to me, I can't. I can't. The only time I want you to let me know is when they're found. And they go, other than that, I don't want to know what you have to deal with. And I don't mean it. And it's one of my brothers. He said, I don't mean to sound rude, but I couldn't do what you do day in, day out, because when I think about it, he loses it. And he just, so to him, it's like, he'd just rather not deal with it.
And it's hard too, right? Not having, like, you guys lost both of the integral parts of your family. You lost your mother first, and then a few years later you lost your father. So the younger kids losing that sort of guidance of who to talk to about this sort of thing, so they lose out on that. It's awful.
Well, after my dad had passed, and each one of us older kids took one of the younger in with them and raised them, I got one of my little brothers, and I ended up putting him in therapy, because not only did you lose your mother and sister when you were very young, and my father just didn't want to talk about it. He was just like, I have to deal with raising you kids. We're not talking about it.
Right.
And so not being able to talk about it at such a young age, and then your father passing, I figured that he needed some type of somebody he could talk to that and share his feelings on it. So I had put him in therapy.
Yeah.
And none of you children thought even immediately after that she just ran away, right? No one ever in the family believed that for 1 minute.
Absolutely not. None of us, because that wouldn't be my mother. My mother wouldn't take one child and not all of them.
Right.
Have you guys always been a pretty close family?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I used to go, spend a lot of time over at Derek and Nini's house. There was always kids over there. She was more than welcoming to have plenty of kids come over and spend the time. Uncle Derek, not so much.
Right.
But you can tell though that was something that meant a lot to her, just to have family around and and see kids having fun. And like in her the sister she brought home was Chantel, and
Yes.
I didn't even know that she was even her sister for the longest time. I thought like she was a cousin or something. I knew she wasn't her daughter, but
Mhm.
you know, it just shows how tough you guys were and how much the family really matters to everyone. Is to, you know, to have to suffer through that and still keep going and caring about, you know, your loved ones.
Yes. It was it it was tough for all of us, like I said, and I think it was hard for the older ones to not having our time to grieve when my father passed, because now we have to be not only for our own children, now we have to be strong enough for the younger ones also.
Right, right.
Even though it's such a small town, there's so much crime. And if you want to hide from anyone, move down there in that area of Cochise County. I mean, I have people down there that if something happens to someone, they'll reach out to me to try to help them.
Yeah.
Because I do make a big stink of everything. And this one girl, she had called me. She lived in California, but her brother, I was actually out there I form walks for justice, and I go out there and we walk the last walk of my mother and sister, and handed out flyers and stuff, and
Nice.
talked to people that we saw. And I was out there, and when I was out there, I came back, and then like, maybe 6 months later, this woman from California called me and asked if I could help her because it was extremely hot when I was out there in that time. And I found it funny because when I came home after that walk for justice, it was on the news in Arizona that I got wind of, that right in the area that we were walking, they found, like those utility trucks that have like the different compartments on the back of the truck.
Yep.
Well, her brother was missing for a few days. Well, they found him like 3 days after I had arrived home. They found him, and his body was shoved in every compartment of that truck in this
Oh my
snow.
gosh.
And so she asked me to help her to find out who had done it. And come to find out, he was into drugs and stuff like that. So, I mean, this whole area is just with Elfrida, Sunizona, Pierce, Sunsites. They're all small towns, but they're all fairly the same community type of,
Yep.
all the groups of people, they hang out with the same groups. And so then when I went to high school down there, I got a phone call from some detectives about another case, and they asked me if I knew this gentleman, John. And I said, I went to high school with him, and he was my high school boyfriend. And they said, well, he just got arrested because he shot his girlfriend in the face 29 times. And
Wow.
he said that the TV told him to do it because he was so
Unreal.
drugs.
Holy cow.
I have the whole police report and everything on that too.
Oh my word.
So, I mean, you were talking about the Molly Bish Foundation earlier. So you're kind of an advocate now for missing and unsolved, right?
I actually just got my friend Jen and I. We just got two certifications with the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. One where family advocates and child safety advocates.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we're, like I said, I speak at the State House for National Missing Children's Day. I also helped when Molly Bish Foundation was huge. I'd do the fingerprinting, and John Bish Sr. and I would go speak at jails together and do speeches. And then I also worked with the Freemasons doing the DNA teeth implantation.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I worked with them too.
Very nice. I mean, as horrible as this tragedy is that's happened to your family, it's nice to see some good come out of it, and it definitely has directed your life, I presume.
Exactly. My path in life was changed on that day I got that phone call.
Yeah. Oh, my word.
I mean, I try to keep it. My kids know about it, but they don't know all about it. Like my middle daughter, Samantha, she was in school when she was in high school a couple of years ago. They were doing some Google project and where they could put somebody's name in. And when she got out of school, she called me. She goes, Mom, I never knew half the stuff that you did. She goes, I Googled you. And oh my God, because she knew I'd do some research for my mother and sister's case, but she didn't know any of the other things that I do.
Right.
Because I wanted them to I want them to have a happy childhood and a fun childhood, not be underneath the umbrella of, I'm afraid of my own shadow type of.
Right.
I don't want to put the fear of God into them.
At some point they'll know about it, but it's important for them to retain their innocence and just enjoy their childhood, right?
Exactly.
Well, very admirable of you and everything you're doing.
Thank you. Just want peace and closure for my family. And my goal is
go ahead.
My goal would be to bring my mother and sister's remains back, and because I have my dad's ashes on my refrigerator, and be able to put them all together. And I mean, right now you figure 29 years later, what are we gonna find, especially in the middle of the desert. So, but one can always hope.
Yeah.
And just have closure and to have a place where we can mourn instead of the unknowing.
Is there any type of memorial over by those S-curves you guys have done or anything?
No. What I do want to, I have, when we were doing the Walks for Justice out there, I have, we did like small boards with my mother and sister on them and wrote, "Have you seen us?" And we've done things like that, and we'll go down and put flyers everywhere. But my goal is to get enough money and put money up to see if I can do like a billboard. But I've been looking into that, like just right there at the S curve. So when somebody's driving, you can have it on both sides so they can see it. And then put up a reward of any information and conviction. But like we said, one of the gentlemen who's a person of interest. Hi, honey. One of the gentlemen, that was my son, just got home from work. Sorry. One of the persons of interest has recently passed. So I'm upset that he passed because I'd like to see us get justice if he is indeed one of the gentlemen.
People are responsible, right?
Well, I would definitely suggest you create like a GoFundMe page, something for funding for that billboard. I mean, if people are willing to donate for a cat's missing fingernail or something, then I'm sure they would definitely donate to you and your cause.
Well, my friend Jen, she's the one that takes care of my website. She's actually in the process of making a GoFundMe page on that.
Excellent.
And
good.
We also are in the process of becoming a not-for-profit organization also, but our paperwork is stuck in limbo in Massachusetts. We put it in right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then
so it'll be a couple of years before you get it back.
Yeah, that's what we figure. So
Mass is pretty quick, right? Massachusetts.
Right, yeah. But that's why we're a .org now. I used to be a .com, but now I'm a .org. So, because we're trying to make it a not-for-profit organization.
Exactly. Nice. So how many podcasts have you done? Just a couple, or?
I've done, I want to say 2. And then I've done television shows over the last 29 years. I did a show. I did Geraldo with John Walsh from America's Most Wanted.
Oh, wow.
I did Jerry Springer before he became Jerry Springer. Back in the
Before the strippers and midgets.
right before that, when he, right before he was going to get canceled because he was talking about real important things, and now he's just a hot mess.
Yeah.
And but I did that. I did Jenny Jones on missing persons. I did, like I said, Geraldo. I've done, who else? Sally Jesse Raphael.
Wow.
That's so surprising too. You think with like that much sort of media pressure too. Is that around the time where the police started taking it seriously, or was it before?
It was no. Jerry Springer was in October of '93. So that was a long.
Oh, okay.
So, but police started when they cleaned house and they got a new, like pretty much a new sheriff's department.
Right.
I would say probably late '90s, they started taking the case more of a serious direction, and instead of just ignoring it and just chalking it up to my mother and sister just left.
Right.
It still blows me away.
It was a good 3 to 4 years of getting nowhere. In the first 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years. I want to say late '97, '98. That's when they started focusing and participating more.
Yeah, that's a long time to struggle on your own.
Mm-hmm.
For justice.
It was very tough. And when like I said, when I go out there, I cause a stink. I notify. Yeah, so I'd say in the '97, '98, they started focusing and actually participating and helping out a lot more than they used to.
Well, things sound like they're going the right direction. I'm really happy to hear that, and it's good to hear that there's some hope in your voice about the investigation right now too. So
yes, there is.
For sure.
There is.
Hopefully, it comes with some closure pretty soon.
I would love to see closure. Next year's 30 years, and it would be sweet in the next year to have the closure and being able to put all my books away, all my notepads away, all my, investigating, just hang up my investigator's hat and just be done with it.
Right.
That's my goal. And to bring peace and closure to my family. That's my main goal, is to bring closure to them. So, and like I said in one of my interviews that I had a couple of years ago, that's on my website, the only thing I said is, when they asked me what I want, I said, I just want an answer. So when my kids, Mom, what happened? I can tell them.
Right.
And be able to have that for them. And for my sisters and brothers to have the closure instead of.
Yeah, it would mean a lot to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And the not knowing is tiring.
I imagine.
Yeah. Well, let us know if there's anything we can do for you guys to help out with your cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I hope I gave you all the information you need.
Do you guys have any Facebook pages or websites where people, if they have any information or if they want to know more about any of this,
Yes, they can go to www.missingpitchers.org. It's MISSINGPITCHERS.org.
Okay.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for sharing your story, and our hearts break for you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just keep them in your hearts and in your prayers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
And I'm sorry that Nini couldn't join us tonight.
Yes, I will end up calling her after and filling her in on everything.
and let her know what a good boy Jeff is.
Okay, I will.
She's gonna know you're a liar.
Right. All right, Don.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you guys very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Guys, thank you very much for all the help. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I think-
anytime. Anytime.
Thank you. You guys have a great night.
All right. You
You
too.
too. Take care.
Bye.
We want to thank Dawn for joining us today. It is so encouraging to see loved ones keeping up the fight for their family's justice, but also a little heartbreaking that they have to. We also want to apologize to Nini for not being able to get her on, but hope that this can show her that people still care about her mother, sister, and their story. If you want to contact or learn more about the Pitcher family and follow along with their journey, please go to missingpitchers.org. That's MISSINGPITCHERS.org. If anyone has any information about the disappearance of Dorothy or Danielle Pitcher, please contact the Cochise County Sheriff's Office at 520-432-9500. Also, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, or following the Facebook page. It's free, and it really helps get the victim stories out there. And as always, thanks for listening.
The search for 5-year-old Taylor Williams led investigators to Alabama this week.
So we have some breaking news from Florida. An arrest has been made in
Tonight,
connection.
after years of agony, a glimmer of hope for the family.
Investigators spent hours searching through this house off Pennsylvania Avenue.
What could be a major development in the search for missing Alabama teenager.
Tonight, a stunning twist in the search for Taylor.
Somebody out there knows something.
They want to lay him to rest their way, not by somebody else's way.